Today I'm going to be talking to you about stress management. Now, stress management is a really broad topic. And so today we're going to narrow the focus and we'll be looking in particular at how to make some choices that prioritise the things that are most important to you. This bowl represents a life. It could be my life or your life, and I call it the bowl of life. And the rocks inside the bowl represent those things that are part of our lives, the activities, our values, the most important things that we have in life. And as you can see, this bowl is at the moment looking rather full, to the point of overflowing and becoming a little top heavy. And sometimes life can feel a bit like that as well. On the other hand, life can sometimes feel rather empty, or as if there's something missing, something important that's missing. And it's at times like these that it can be really helpful to do a bit of a review of what your life is about. So that's what we're going to demonstrate here today. So first of all, we're going to unpack this bowl, and then we're going to repack it so that it feels a whole lot more comfortable. So we'll start off by, we'll take out these various size rocks. Some big, small, medium size. And you can see that at the bottom of the bowl, there's a whole heap of sand taking up quite a bit of space. So we're going to pour that out as well, and we're going to start with an empty vessel. Okay. So when we're reviewing or auditing our lives, it can be really helpful to have a think about, first of all, what are the most important things to you? What are the things that you just cannot do without or don't want to do without in your life, and popping them in there first. So these are the big rocks in your life. Now, for me, over the years, I've learned that some of my big rocks are things like daily exercise, meditation, nutrition and sleep. So those things seem to give me a really good foundation for the day. Another really big rock in my life is spending time with family. And it's definitely something that I wouldn't want to give up. Okay, so we've got the big rocks in our lives now. It's time to think about what are the next things that are pretty important to you. You still don't want to give them up, but you know, maybe you can delay them for a little while, or maybe they're just not quite so important. They're things that you might be able to let go of for a little time. So for me, that might include some of these slightly smaller rocks or the medium-sized rocks. So whilst nutrition is very important to me, I try to keep a well-stocked pantry and fridge, so I can actually go without getting the groceries for a while and still be able to provide good nutrition for the family. So getting the groceries would be one of my medium-sized rocks. Also having a house that's fairly clean and clean as opposed to tidy. So having kitchen and bathroom areas clean, but missing a day here or there is not normally an issue. So not a really big rock, but a medium-sized rock, still pretty important. So next of all, we have a think about the small rocks in our lives. So these are the things that we can kind of manipulate around or let go of or do without for a period of time. But if they weren't in our lives at all, we'd probably feel like they were missing in some way, or we would feel an urge to bring them back into our lives. So for me, being pretty much an introvert, socialising is very important, but I don't have a really big need for that on a daily basis. So socialising is an important part of my life, but it is one of the smaller rocks. Likewise, you know, in the growing season, mowing. If the mowing has to be delayed a little while, that's okay. It'll still get done eventually. So there we have it. We've got some of the big rocks, we've got medium-sized rocks, and we've got some smaller rocks that are fitting in this bowl right now, and I can see it starting to get fairly full. Now, when I'm choosing what to put back in my bowl here, if something doesn't seem to fit quite so well, I can turn it from a big rock into a medium rock, or a medium rock into a small rock. Or vice versa. You know, if something feels like it's actually more important than I realised it was, instead of it being a small rock, it can now be a big rock. And there might be some rocks that you can leave out altogether. And so as you can see, there are some rocks that I'm not fitting back into the bowl that were actually in the bowl before. But I've actually left a bit of space in the bowl for those incidental things, those little ordinary everyday things that are important, but they're flexible. They can fit in and flow around those other more important things in our lives. So for me, that would include, and this is represented by the sand, this would include things like going to the shops to buy some new clothes. I'll fit it in when I can, you know. If it has to wait another week or another month, that's probably going to be okay for me. And maybe general housework, and maybe other things like washing the windows. That doesn't happen very often around my place. It's always nice when it does happen, but you know, it's not one of those critical things in my life. So all these incidental things, or things that might be important for me to do every now and then, I'm simply fitting them in and around the most important things that I have. And it looks like it's all going to fit in pretty well. So there you have it. In reevaluating the important rocks in my life, I've identified some rocks that I don't really need in there anymore. There are some that are most important, most critical to me, and everything that I need or want to have there is fitting in a whole lot better than it was when we began this activity. So there you have it. It's one simple concept to help us manage our stress by helping us to prioritise and come back to the basics. What's most important to me in my life, and putting the big rocks in there first.